is Ethan Tingler, front tire changer for the 3-car Austin Dillon. You're listening to Back of the Pack podcast on Fantasy Focus. Hell yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Back of the Pack podcast here live on Fantasy Focus, brought to you by the Original Hooters. We are back live again, back-to-back nights. We went live a little prematurely last night before the DFS plays were even announced. So consider that your appetizer for tonight. We went through odds, we went through our picks, we went through the track, we went through all that. But today we are going to get in specifically into the DFS plays on Monkey Knife Fight. If you guys have never played on Monkey Knife Fight before, make sure you are using code FOCUS when you sign up, win yourself some money, and get yourself a deposit bonus. How you gents doing tonight on this fine Tuesday evening?
Doing great. We have a double header here. Monday, Tuesday action leading into our Wednesday Open and All-Star race. It's setting up for a pretty fun evening tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel like we could actually do this on a more consistent basis. This is like my third therapy session of the week at this point, not including my sessions with Linda. But yeah, it feels good to be back on the mic with you two fine gentlemen.
Agreed.
I made sure that I spiced it up with a fancier drink there for the comment warriors. We got some. I was called far left because I was drinking a White Claw.
It was more of a play on the aesthetic in terms of, I think everyone knows that we are split down the middle.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I went a little fancy with a Ballast Point brewery here, Buck. I know you're familiar with San Diego.
Is that a Sculpin or a grapefruit?
It's a grapefruit Sculpin.
Oh, gorgeous beer.
It's a great beer.
Yummy.
You familiar with that one there, Freeman?
Oh, I know much about Ballast Point. I was a craft beer guy in a previous lifetime and loved engaging with those brands.
Yeah, I think I can attribute quite a bit of my weight gain over the years to living just a 5-minute walk south of the Ballast Point tasting room in San Diego.
Oof.
That was hard to pass up 3 times a week.
If it was a little bit further, that walk may have helped you out, but
it didn't help that there was an Italian grocery on the way that made fantastic sandwiches.
Twofer.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so we're heading into Bristol. If you don't know, this is the NASCAR All-Star race. And as a semi-new fan here myself, I've actually never watched a NASCAR All-Star race personally. I'm excited. I know Freeman's seen several. Bucky's probably seen some back in his heyday. But 140-lap, 4-stage event, $1 million prize, 20 drivers. 16 of them have been determined already. We've basically got a All-Star Open, they're calling it, and you can play DFS on the All-Star Open, which is about an hour and a half before the main event. So the All-Star Open will provide us with 3 additional drivers, and then there's 1 voted in. So that's how you get to 20. Basically, in the All-Star Open, each stage 1 and the final winner will earn a spot into the main event, correct?
You got it. Spot on. And there's a couple things that we'll naturally kind of jump into when it comes to Monkey Knife Fight and DFS picks on the Open compared to the All-Star race, because unlike other traditional NASCAR events, this is a qualifier event that feeds into the main event. So how you gamble, how you pick your lineups will be greatly impacted based on the remainder of the race. So for example, again, we'll dive into this as we go into Monkey Knife Fight picks. But let's say, for example, Michael McDowell, who starts first for the Open, wins the first segment. While in traditional race on a Sunday, that would be great because it shows he's in a very nice, very fast car. He's done something right. In the Open, if Michael McDowell wins that first stage, 99% of the time, he's going to go and park it because he has punched his ticket into the All-Star race. Even though McDowell likely led laps and finished first in this segment, he will finish last or very close to last because he is not going to continue to race. So instead of picking the winners for stage 1 and 2 to be the individuals at the front of this point scoring scheme on Monkey Knife Fight, we're going to have to, I don't know if sandbag is the right word, but we're going to have to use some strategery and figure out who we think is going to win the first 2 stages and pick around them. So, Monkey Knife Fight picked a hard one for us to throw at some of these, middle of the pack, back of the pack drivers to pick from. But I think it's going to be fun. It'll be cool to see some new faces in there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's 35, 35, 15 are the breakouts of the stages in the Open. So I like to think that it's going to be just a dogfight for that first series, or excuse me. Shoot, why am I blacking out on the name of it?
First leg.
First
Yeah.
stage win. My God, Matt,
Well,
it's 7 p.m.
it's gonna make that first green flag drop just hectic. They're gonna have a crash in that first lap. That would be a great prop. I would put $1,000 on that prop to have a caution before the leader gets back to the start finish line, because that first lap is the best time for you to make up positions, for you to make up the most track position. And if you don't get those 2 passes you need, your chances are dwindling quickly. So look for the McDowells, the Almirolas, Christopher Bell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., that first 4 to be bumper to bumper that whole first lap, second lap, if they make it that far, because that lead is going to be the most important thing at the moment. Because if they win that first 35 lap sprint, they've got a ticket to the All-Star race and they have $1 million in their sight. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to be motivated for as a driver, but also a lot to be scared of from a risk perspective to crash that fast machine early in a race.
Do you think it's a good idea to look at this from, we'll look at the point spread in a minute.
Yeah.
But do you think it's more important to look at this as favoring those middle of the pack, maybe 11 through 17 guys, as opposed to 1 through 10?
Yeah, and it's such a curveball, because a 35 lap run at Charlotte is unlike a 35 lap run at Indy or
it's about
Pocono.
5 times less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it gives a lot more room for strategy. And what that will do is it just increases the unknown of who's going to be where. So you're going to see some of these guys who are at the back of the pack, they're going to try and stay on the lead lap by using the least amount of equipment possible. So when that first stage is done and everyone else in front of them pits, they're going to start up front for that second stage. And they're going to hope that the difference in that track position and clean air is a big enough delta from those fresh tires. So there's so many things going on in this race. There's not points involved, so crew chiefs and drivers are willing to throw a little bit of extra unknown into the mix and say, you know what, like, this is a big opportunity for our team, our sponsors, but we're not going to lose points. So if we pull this 2-tire stop instead of a 4 and gain 4 positions, like, it's worth that risk in this moment. So it's going to be a hell of a show. And I think you're right. We're going to be looking at these guys who are middle of the pack, who are going to have to take some time, take advantage of this strategy to really pay off. I think anyone who is starting further back than a 13th isn't going to win in the Open. I think Austin Dillon and Ryan Preece are starting back the furthest with the realistic potential to win a stage or a race. I like the Benedetto because exactly of what you were talking about before, Levy or Bucky, is he may not win those first stages, but he has that, consistency over a long run. So a little bit of a preview of some of these picks, but I'm excited to dive in a bit deeper with you guys on Monkey Knife Fight.
Let me ask you this: if you're ballsy enough to bet or play DFS on the All-Star Open, knowing that Monkey Knife Fight doesn't award points for winning a stage, shouldn't we essentially just take the under or the less on like pretty much everyone? Like if I'm looking at, I'm a risk adverse fantasy player now because I don't gamble anymore. So I try to take less risk here. If I'm looking at this as a gambling perspective, shouldn't, if I'm looking at the first contest, which is Almirola versus De Benedetto, and Almirola is starting in the 2-hole, I think he's got a realistic chance to win stage 1 and then drop out. So essentially he's going to have less. There's no doubt, right?
Yep. So let's hypothetical situation. Almirola wins the first stage, leads 30 of the 35 laps. He is going to finish that race with 3 points. 3. So I don't know if Monkey Knife Fight is thinking the same way we are, if they have looked into the All-Star Open and how that race unfolds, because, I mean, like Bubba Wallace, this number surprises me. Before we jump into the actual numbers of all the players, the drivers, Bubba's at 10.5 points. Everyone else is at 13 to 17. So that makes me believe that they are confident Bubba is going to win one of these stages, and they know that. But why some of these other numbers like Clint Boyer, William Byron, Eric Almirola are at 16.5 to 17.5? Like, one of them isn't going to win a stage, but which one is it going to be? But I think we're going to have a lot of lesses in our lineup here as we move forward.
There's only what 8.5 points in lap leads. That's it. There's 8.5 points to split between 22 drivers. Number one, factor that in. Number two, we're guaranteed 2 drivers drop out.
Yep.
This is uncharted water here, boys.
It is. So you will not see me messing with the Levy bag of donuts or the Bucky double sack, because it should be a 500x, because the open makes it, a billion times more challenging.
It does.
I will tell you, historically at this track, I did do a little bit of homework. I did a little data diving for you, gents. Clint Boyer has the best average finish here at 7.29.
But he already finished earlier in the spring, right?
2?
There it is.
2 or 3? Oh, 3.
So
okay.
he was NASCAR. That he was on a hot streak at that time. So I expect him to be someone to win one of the first 2 stages. But then at the same time, a lot of these guys can be a product of someone else's bullshit. So if you see some of these back markers in Daniel Suarez, Joey Gase, Timmy Hill, Quinn Hoff, Brendan Poole, if they pull a strategy play and they're first, second, third, when McDowell, Almirola, Bell, and Stenhouse are the rest of the pack with 5 laps to go, one of those guys spins a tire on a restart with 35 lap old tires, and this is a cluster funk, guys. Like there's going to be someone who's going to win the race that we had no idea of. So it's very easy to go from having a chalky top 5 to having a opposite of a chalky top 5, especially in a race like this where the track is so small. One quick move could take out some of these favorites.
Cluster Funk would be an absolutely fantastic band name. I want to go out there and just extend, if you are a funk band and you need a publicist / strategy guy, I'd love for you to sign myself, because I just got this great new band name, Cluster Funk.
I'll be your advisor.
Well, technically you own the IP at this point, but I will have no problem seizing that in the court of law, sir.
Oof, challenge accepted.
Okay. Technically, the IP is owned by Fantasy Focus, because we are broadcasting this on Fantasy Focus.
Or is it owned by YouTube?
Even further,
we really stretched it out here, boys.
Everybody, shoot us a line, YouTube and NASCAR. We got you guys.
Perfect. All right, so Bucky, share your screen so that people can see what we're working with here on Monkey Knife Fight. And Freeman, before we wrap up today, I'm going to put you to the test on some DraftKings scoring as well, so people can get some value. I know we got a lot of listeners out there that like to dabble in the DK on the NASCAR.
I love it. And while Bucky's pulling it up too, if anyone has any specific questions about matchups or picks or bets or indecisive, let them fly in the comments. Would love to chat and add some value to your picks.
Yeah, hit us up, guys. It's more entertaining when you've got specific questions for us, and you got the brains there in the middle, so he's ready to fire away.
I'm not going to live that one down, I don't think.
If you guys have never played on Monkey Knife Fight while Bucky's getting ready there, I'll give you the scoring real quick. Again, a lap led is 1/10 of a point. If you finish in first place, it's 20. Second place, 19. Third, 18, all the way down to 20th, which is 1 point. Again, keep in mind here, we're going to just briefly touch on the All-Star Open, which is the race, which is basically the qualifying event before the main NASCAR All-Star race, which starts at 9 o'clock Eastern. So we need 3 winners. It'll be 2 stage winners and the final stage or overall winner, which will advance to the 9 o'clock race. So quick turnaround time there, but what do we got here, Bucky?
All right, so this first one I actually like quite a bit. So
I love seeing these new faces. Man, I'm pumped.
Yeah, right? Like, that's what Eric Almirola looks like.
That's funny.
That's what Matty D. Oh, that's my guy. All right, so 16.5 for Almirola. I'm going to go less. I'm also going to go less on D Benedetto.
Perfect. So here's my expectations for Almirola to win the first stage. I think him or Boyer are going to win that first stage. I think between Boyer and Benedetto, those would be my 2 favorites for the second stage. You have to look at starting position. Almirola starting second. He's going to be on the outside. He will likely get get that whole shot. I see him, beating out Michael McDowell in that first lap if they get all the way around. That's some laps led. I think he will dominate that first stage, especially the less cautions there are, the more success Almirola has, less a chance for less mistakes. So I like that too. I think he wins. So we go less there. And again, for anyone just tuning in, rather than picking the winner of each stage to proceed on to achieve the most amount of points, the winner of each stage automatically qualifies for the all-star race. So they don't have to continue to race. So even if Almirola leads every single lap of that first stage and he retires after that, that's only 3.5 points. That's way
Right.
less than 16.5. Let's stick to less here. I think you're spot on with that, Buck.
Freeman, to play devil's advocate here, we talked about Almirola on episode 25, I believe it was, before Kentucky. And we've talked about Almirola a lot because he's been hot. And SHR has been hot, right? He's an SHR guy, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Look at me. I'm starting to know the teams these guys are on. This is crazy. But we said this is the type of guy who doesn't necessarily lead a lot of laps. He kind of like waits in the wings and kind of strikes when the iron's hot, if you will. He's been like a top 5, top 10 guy in a less competitive field because all these all-stars already have their spots. Does he have what it takes to start in the 2-hole and actually lead an entire leg?
Yeah.
I think you're spot on with that because we talk about it a lot. It's like Almirola, he always seems to be there, get the favorable draw. He was leading a lot of laps last weekend. He has been, in the top 5 for a majority of the last few weekends, but he just wasn't, at the peak of the mountaintop at the right time, right? So sure. I think you're spot on with some of the competition being later in the night. His abilities will be magnified. He will have a stronger showing, a stronger presence because some of those teammates who have better vehicles aren't going to be there, but also some of those competitors who are fighting for that same spot with him on any given Sunday are already in the all-star race. So I think if you look at them very quickly, Almirola, and William Byron, Clint Boyer, and Matt DiBenedetto are kind of the 4 that I think have the most promise in NASCAR over the next 5 to 10 years. So they are definitely people that I think are favorites to win these stages and to lead laps, even considering their lack of ability to do that in other races because of how stiff the competition is. So great spot, great focus on that. I think Almirola will have the chops to lead these laps and legs and take home an early W.
And if you guys are just tuning in and you've got some awesome offshore book or whatever, and you can bet on stages in the All-Star Open, then these are the guys we're targeting. We're targeting the Almirola, the DiBenedettos, the Byrons of the world. Those are the individuals that we like. And what was the 4th one? Who did you say there? Boyer,
DiBenedetto, Almirola, and Byron. And then kind of on the cusp of that, I say Christopher Bell is going to be breaking out soon, as well as the Austin Owens and Ryan Preece. But I see a question here. What's going on?
Yeah, William, thanks for joining us. So this is an interesting point here. Bubba knows he's going to be the fan vote, so he isn't going to risk crashing his car. Is he going to mail it in here? I mean, look, if you know you're going to win the fan vote, don't you want to justify the fact that you can actually win your way in and not just be the fan vote? Like, I feel like he's going to be racing for some pride here.
He is the driver to not care what the hell is going on into the race. He is going to race as hard as he can, and it would only make him happier than he is right now to get into this race based on winning and not have to rely on that vote. Now, it's a strategy play, right? What are we going to do? Are we going to see him race or going to drop back? I don't know. I haven't dug into that topic much. But if I was a betting man, I think Bubba's going to be out there. I think he will be on the track. I think he is confident that he's going to have that fan vote, but I'm curious to see if he starts in parks or if he starts and hangs out at the back, much like people do at a restrictor plate track. But much like Bucky, mentioned a billion times about the track and how it's different, it's so short. You don't have time to rest. If you are in the back of the pack, you're going to get lapped very quickly. So you don't want to be, eaten up by those racing in for the first, second, and third positions when you're a lap car, because you're just as equally likely to get into some of their crap as you would be your own if you're racing hard.
Freeman, don't you think as well there'll be some clearer separation right off the jump in this race, considering that there is not nearly as much to navigate through once your racer gets beyond that first lap? I mean, I feel like you're going to see a separation who's got a hot car, who doesn't, within 2 laps. And it's going to be very, very present.
I agree 100%. And I don't even think we're going to get 2 laps green without a caution. These guys know that their equipment has a short lifespan. You know, the JJ Yaleys, the Brendan Pools, the Quinn Hoffs, the Timmy Hills. So they're trying to make a name for themselves. They're also trying to be a bit more aggressive and get that extra 1 or 2 positions on the restart because they know they cannot get it under green flag conditions.
Love it. All right, Bloom, thanks for joining us, man. 7:30 Eastern time tomorrow is the All-Star Open, which is the pre-race event, if you will, and then 9 o'clock Eastern time is the big boy.
Yeah.
No. It's a race, my friend. Don't call this the pre-race event.
It's the qualifier. We'll go with that one to be nice. And it's on
the fried calamari before a wonderful steak.
Yes,
true.
Yeah, they're both great, but the steak is better.
It could be the tartare if we're at a very upscale place, but where I usually eat, they have great fried calamari. They put a little cherry peppers on them. You can't beat it.
Maybe some lots of tots if we're talking.
To give you some more insight here, Brian, the TV coverage starts about 30 minutes before the green flag drops. So I think Fox Sports 1 is carrying both races. So 7 o'clock Eastern, 8:30 Eastern for a TV broadcast on both races. And again, we're at Bristol Wednesday night under the lights, all-star race, $1 million in the line. You know, a lot of new things going on. It's going to be an awesome Wednesday.
Oh yeah, can't wait. Now De Benedetto.
More. You're right, 100%. He's the person we talked about from the get-go. He's going to be around first stage, second stage, but he is going to win that final stage and actually win the Open. He's someone I think is going to win the Open. If Almirola or Byron or Boyer did not exit the race after winning their stages, they'd be my favorites. But De Benedetto's been having a very strong car. I wouldn't be mad at myself even if he won a stage before this, because I just want to see that man win something. I want to see him take home a W, and I think it's going to be tomorrow night.
Love it. All right, Bucky forgot it to log into his account here.
Hold on. How do I
I want to not share your screen there, Bucky.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal your Freshly subscription now.
Yeah, now you will. I'm screwed. All right, I'm back.
Diana wants to know who will win race. Diana, I don't know if you're talking for the actual All-Star race or are you talking for the preheat?
Let's give her both.
Let's give her both. So we're going De Benedetto.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And remember, I'm going to say this a couple more times tonight. The winners are not going to be as customary as usual. The person who wins the first and second stage will not find themselves continuing to race. So we're going to be looking at some of these, secondary and tertiary drivers to actually win that Open. I think De Benedetto is the guy who takes home that Open trophy. But if we're looking at the All-Star race, gun to my head, Kurt Busch is my guy at 1,200. Plus 1,200, that's a really good value, and he's been coming on strong, and he actually has had a lot of success here. So he's the guy I'm looking at for the All-Star race.
Yeah, and for me, we talked about this yesterday, Diana. Thanks for joining. I know you weren't with us yesterday, but so Alex is going Kurt Busch. Historically, has done well here. For me, I'm going to go with the guy I think is the best driver in the world right now, alongside Harvick, and it's Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, if you're betting on him, plus 550 to win the race. So he is one of the top 3 favorites. So I believe he's the 3rd favorite. It's Harvick, Elliott, then Hamlin. So I believe in Denny. Denny has had a great season so far, but I feel like he's got a lot to prove in this race, and he's going to come out hungry. And that's just short track racing.
So here's the crazy part. We're Monkey Knife Fight folks. We love you. Glad you're tuning in. Because they just pulled De Benedetto and Almirola there.
I've still got it up on my screen here. Did you get your bet in, maybe?
Yeah, I got it in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in.
It's still showing up on my end. They probably just don't want you to put it in twice. That's
you
all.
Can't bet it twice.
Oh, fair enough. My fault.
Don't hate on our people at Monkey Knife Fight. How dare you?
I am flattered by them. I love them.
Love you guys.
Bucky, you're going Blaney, right?
Come over for some fried calamari.
Bucky, help Diana here. Who's your pick for the Open outright? Not the stages, and then also the All-Star.
Oh, it's the Blainster.
Blainster winning the All-Star?
Blainster takes home the All-Star.
He ordered a hat too there, Diane, so he's adding to his collection.
I have like 6 on the way. This is getting bad.
This is a good one here. So this is a more or less 3 times your buy-in. You need to go 2 for 2. Oof. Why are you saying that?
All right, so here's my logic.
I don't like this one, Buck.
Here's the logic.
All
Hear
right.
me out. Hear me out. At no point did you identify Reddick or Bell as your favorites to win one of the stages, correct?
Correct.
So what are you fighting for at this point? You think that'll be Bell and Reddick, both rookies, both they had their moments of promise, but I honestly feel that both of them could win one of these stages, and I think this could end up being a less scenario where you got Reddick and Bell in the all stizzy.
I don't hate that reasoning, and I would mix this one up because Reddick is I'm torn. If one of these two were to win, I think it would be a Bell because I'm torn here because Reddick is such a high side driver. If that upper groove comes in, he's going to have the advantage. But it's a short race on a short track. How many laps is it? 100 laps again? Like
85.
There's not enough time for the upper groove to come in. So his strength isn't going to be able to be capitalized on, but he's still a badass driver. So I see Reddick finishing in the top 10, or top 5, but I don't see him winning the race because his strengths are not able to be played on the top side because it's not going to be rubbered in by the time it's go time. So
look at this analysis here from the man, the myth, the legend, Alex Freeman.
Let me just play devil's advocate a little bit more here. They both have one career race at this track, if I'm not mistaken, or at least one career since 2017. Chris Bell finished 9th here. Tyler Reddick shat his britches and finished 36. So if I'm going to lean more or less one way or the other, I'm going to flip-flop these, and I'm going to say Chris Bell ends up winning this race. He wins the 3rd stage, and Tyler Reddick goes home with his ball.
What I would be interested in seeing is both of these guys' historical stats in the Xfinity Series. So these two competed against each other in the Xfinity Series, which also races at Bristol twice a year for the past few years. So
one is in the playoffs too.
Yep. And it'll be good to see the kind of historical notes and historical success of these drivers at the track. Reddick won 2 championships back to back. He's had success at all tracks on the Xfinity circuit, but he has had success at those tracks that allow him to run the top side. And I just don't see the top side being worked in by the time these guys need to go and utilize it. This one may be even more challenging than the previous one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm staying away from this personally on the All-Star Open, but I'll let you guys duke it out.
I'm not betting this one. It's too close to call.
These two will be surprise names. I think that we're going to see a lot more of in the coming years, and it's so close, very hard to call.
I like this one though. Clint Boyer.
I'm going to go less on Boyer. You could give him fucking 12 points, and I would still go less because I think he's going to win one of these stages.
Yeah, I'm with you there for sure. Boyer has 7 races here since 2017. Look at that face.
Look at that. He's like he's yelling at something on the TV or about to. It looks like.
Dad, what did I do wrong?
And then Byron at 16.5. So Byron's been real freaking quiet the last few weeks. He's just kind of been hanging out. I've kind of forgotten about him. He's been hanging out in the weeds. I don't know if he has the stuff to take home a W here, but he definitely is going to have top 5 equipment. So this is another tweener. I think if he doesn't win, he's going to finish in the top 5. But there's so much on the line for some of these high-profile drivers in this race. If they don't see themselves winning, I'm not surprised if they go out trying and crash themselves. So let's go less on Boyer because he's going to win one of these first 2 stages. Let's go less on Byron because I think he's going to go down trying.
I'm going to put a little 5er on it. Nothing serious. Just
All right, there we
casual.
go. Should we get into the main event?
Oh, it's all-star time, baby. The open race is harder. We need to consult with our buddies at Monkey Knife Fight and tell them to give us a bone.
It is hard, but it is nice to see, some different names in there. A couple questions here. Diana, I'm not sure why you can't bet on FanDuel yet. I'm not a FanDuel guy. I never have been. I've always been a DraftKings guy. now a Monkey Knife Fight guy. So I'm unsure if FanDuel even does NASCAR. But Bloom's got a question here. How many teams are there and how many cars per team? Is there a max amount of cars that can race each year?
Yep. So great questions, Brian. There is a lot of change that's been going on to the team landscape within NASCAR. One, to kind of dissipate the power, if you will. So not one team is owning the show, much like you see in Formula One, where Mercedes wins every freaking weekend. What they're doing is they set a limit on number of cars per team. So right now it's 4. Usually the big name teams, Hendrick, Penske, Joe Gibbs, they have charters, and charter race cars are guaranteed to start every weekend. There's a number of open cars that race their way in, but for what it's worth to you, Brian, most of the big name drivers that you are aware of are the ones who are chartered cars, who have a starting spot every weekend. But some of these non-chartered teams who are up and coming in the sport are fighting for that charter recognition to achieve the ability to race every single weekend. So on a number of how many teams are in the sport, shoot, you're putting me on the spot here. I think somewhere between 9 and 12, and those range from 1-car teams to 4-car teams across different series. And then the way that rookies make it in, just like any other sports, hierarchy or ladder, if you will. If you look at Xfinity, like the college equivalent of NASCAR, they climb the ranks. So, for example, a Haley Deegan of the world, who is an up-and-coming female driver, daughter of Brian Deegan, who is a big-time X-Game motocross driver, and back in my childhood, she has drove on local speedways out west for a few years. She took that success into the ARCA Menard series, which is a very small regional NASCAR series, taken that into even larger ARCA series, and then to the trucks, Xfinity, and then to NASCAR. So you climb that ladder, usually have a regional success, regional presence, and then grow through ARCA trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. So long-worded answer. Glad to answer any questions that come with that. But I would suggest you looking into the charter rules and some of those dynamics. That'll give you a much more detailed understanding of some of those dynamics.
Well, doesn't it also factor in, sure, you need a name in the ranks as you're moving up, but you need to be offered a spot on one of these teams to really break through.
You also need money. That's one thing that a lot of individuals don't look into NASCAR and think about, like, oh, you don't just walk into Richard Hendrick's office and they say, hey, DuPont is going to sponsor you for $30 million a year for the next 15 years. These people that are coming up in the ranks usually come with sponsorship. So if you open the history books and look at Ryan Blaney's climb through NASCAR, a lot of the names on that car are similar. So not only do you have to have the skill and the backing of a name, of the sport, of your success, but you also need money to back that up, because not everyone's just going to throw you research and development money to be the next, Toyota or Ford or Chevy R&D driver. So, a lot of these guys have ties to large corporations.
Yep.
And that's a big political kind of push and pull topic in NASCAR, is how much of the money dictates who's in the seat compared to how much of the skill. And that's one of the things that the Benedetto is kind of straddling that line. He may be one of the best drivers in the sport, but until he has the support of a global brand, he may not be able to flex that muscle. So a lot of unique components and variables to think about when it comes to making a name in NASCAR.
To turn that extremely long answer very succinctly, I will go ahead and say you need Valvoline, Bloomfield. You need Valvoline on the car.
They get you W's.
I think the other thing too is a lot of these guys just come from long lines of racing, like even a Chase Elliott. But if you look at the Busch brothers, for example, now, I mean, I follow Kyle Busch's babe of a wife on Instagram, and their 8-year-old kid is racing already. He is in some sort of child circuit already racing.
Yep. And Kevin Harvick's son, Keelan, won his first race this week at 8 years old. So it's a lifestyle, man. If you look at the starting lineup, we can look at the roster, and I can tell you all these family ties. Austin Dillon is racing for RCR because Richard Childress is his grandpa. Ty Dillon, Richard Childress's other son, Austin Dillon's other brother, is racing for Germain Racing, which happens to have an alliance with RCR because Ty Dillon is Richard Childress' other grandson. So it's a little bit incestuous, a lot of it incestuous, but
Game of Thrones out here.
It's in their blood, man, and it's an expensive sport. You have to be groomed for this, and they are groomed from a very young age, and even younger of an age, as as NASCAR becomes more prevalent.
Well, also you got to factor in what you need: a truck to transport the transport of said vehicle across the country to get into these whatever level they need to race at to get their name going to get the proper competition. Yep. Then you have damage. Then you have all the upkeep on the car. You also have gasoline. I mean, the whole thing is preposterous. I know tons of parents that have ice hockey players as sons, daughters, complain all the time. It's just too damn expensive. Not only are we paying for tons of equipment, we're paying for ice time. This is that on steroids.
Right.
You want to talk about buying track time? You don't even want to think about how expensive that is. Like, while NASCAR helps support them, much like the NFL helps, the teams get from place to place and they kind of do a profit sharing, is it still an expensive sport? There's a reason why there's such a discrepancy and such a delta between the best and the worst, because some have figured out how to run the business and squeeze out a profit. Some are still trying to figure it out while putting fast cars on the track. And that's a really hard equation to master.
Right. All right. So, Bucky, what do we got for the main event here?
All right. This first one I like quite a bit. You got Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex. This is more or less. You buy in, you get 3 extra money if you win 2 out of 2 here, more or less. Blaney, I like to win. I'm biased. He's starting third. He's got as good of a chance as anybody here. Going to be gunning for it for sure. Hair flowing in the wind. 15.5. That's definitely a bit high, but I like him to win here, so I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney with more.
Yep, and unlike the open race, if you win a stage, you are still racing. So that's not as big of a play here. So I like your pick with Blaney more. One other thing to consider here, the All-Star race is kind of an open practice session too. So for drivers like Truex and other Toyotas, they don't get a lot of practice. So in the event they find themselves in a hard spot when it comes to winning the race, don't be surprised if they try some unique things that may help or hurt their results. So with Truex Jr., I haven't seen a lot to make me excited about him outside of last weekend. These short tracks have been dominated by the Chevys and Fords. Toyotas are definitely the third most prevalent manufacturer going into this race. I'm going to go less. Even though he's starting on the pole, even if he gets a few laps led, I don't see Truex finishing in a clean top 5 position.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both of you guys here. I'll take more on Blaney. I think he's got a realistic opportunity in the first stage to surpass Truex and take over the lead. You know what would be interesting? Just shout out to Monkey Knife Fight on a suggestion. Add some points for winning a stage, because I think that throws a whole new monkey wrench in things.
It does. And I think that evolves the sport with them becoming accustomed with NASCAR too, because for a while the other DFS sites didn't have those multiples and multipliers, because if one person wins a stage and that's 3 points, I mean that can flip the board really quickly. So I imagine that it's coming. Hopefully it will, because it seems like they listen to our boy Levy here, and it's only made Monkey Knife Fight stronger.
I got contacts, dude. They're in my email list. All right, what we got next?
All right, so I like this one here. Same concept, more or less. Get 3 extra buy-in. We got Chase and then Kevin Harvick here, both at 17.5. Elliott's starting at 13th. Bit of a concern for me, but I know you're both going to be saying more. I got to go less here.
I'm not. I'm jumping in early on this one. Chase has not been hot. I don't know what Vegas knows that we do not, but the fact that Chase Elliott, who 6 weeks ago you couldn't have convinced me that Denny Hamlin or Harvick were better drivers than Chase Elliott. I thought Chase was, the best in the world, the best thing since sliced bread. And lately he just doesn't have it. I don't know what's going on. He's mentally checked out. Maybe this is his coming back out party. He needs to get his shit together, and he's got something to prove here. But if you're telling me he's plus 500 and Denny's plus 550, I don't understand that. Is it just because historically he's done better here? Maybe, but I'm going to lean less here, and I'm going to go more on Harvick.
I like that. And to also throw another wrench into the mix here. Look who's starting in front of him. Joey Logano starts one position ahead of Chase Elliott at the All-Star race. So there's still some retaliation to be had there. And the All-Star race is a great opportunity to do that because, one, it's not points paying, and you get to tell someone that you crashed them and ruin their chance at $1 million. So, Joey Logano has payback to pay. There are some drivers that are going to get bumpers that would have not otherwise gotten bumpers in other races. That's another, variable to throw into the mix here. So I think that you're right on Chase Elliott going less. And I think Harvick, with more, Harvick's going to lead some laps. Harvick's going to be in the top 5. And I think it's going to be a great race.
Love it.
All right, moving on here. 3 out of 4 for 2.5. This is my personal favorite. Been doing quite well on these.
I haven't seen Kyle Busch under 17 points in forever. What is this?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep that up.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.
And then Denny at 15, starting 16.5. Short race.
I think we stick with
driver
Elliott
in the
at less,
world.
and then go Harvick at more.
Wow.
No.
You're going to go the less poo-poo platter?
I think I kind of like this for 3 out of 4.
Okay, at 3 out of 4. Okay. So you're saying one of these guys will finish in the top 3, but the other ones won't, more or less.
Yep.
Excluding laps led.
Yep. I think this is the poo-poo platter souffle right here, pal.
I mean, you guys are the ones that are hot on this weekly, and I'm.
I wouldn't
I'm
call
not.
me hot. I'm lukewarm.
Yeah.
You're not losing.
Yeah, I'm not cold.
True. At least you're not depositing every week.
No, I haven't deposited once. Actually, yeah, I did twice. Damn it.
You got one more in us?
Oh, we got one more in us, and
And while Bucky picks, this last one is going to be a double sack of Buck. If you guys have any questions about any of the picks, any DFS, any lineups, feel free to let them roll here. We're always glad to chat with folks like Brian and Diana and everyone who has any questions, and we really appreciate them.
all right.
Yeah.
So this is the 5 out of 5. Ooh.
5 out of 5. Also, if you're watching this later, not live, just drop a comment in here. We'll get back to you tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon before the race.
Lines and picks change quick.
Yeah, they do. So if you're watching this right now, get your picks in now because we're line movers around here at Fantasy Focused.
We move them. My one $5 bet at a time.
This is crazy to me, Buck. The person that they're giving the least points to is the person you pick to win the race. So we're gonna do less poo-poo platter with a more for Blaney.
No, I'm going to do more for Harvick.
I like that.
How are
Too
you not
hot.
going to get? Look, if I'm picking Denny as my more, just no respect here as my winner. You can't even give the guy 17 fantasy points.
Not in a 5 for 5 here, pal.
All right.
I'm trying to make there's a reason that you don't have this account running.
There's the reason mine's goose egged.
Blind faith, my friend.
Yeah, Visa stopped allowing Monkey Knife Fight to process payments.
Look at that.
on ladies.
5
Right.
to win 75. I'm feeling pretty confident about this. We got Elliott with less, Harvick with more, Bush, of course, he's less. That's the easiest pick of the day. Hamlin less, second easiest pick of the day. And Ryan Blaney with more.
How few points would you be comfortable betting on a less for Bush? For folks who are listening later, assuming his point total is going to drop, at what point would you drop from less to more, Bucky?
I mean, 9th gets you 11 points. I'd say 11 and a half.
I like that. Okay. Asking for a friend.
Fair enough. 5 to win 75 here. And then we got to get into it. The double stack.
Uh-oh.
I like the mutual
Jinx.
Yep. More or less 8 of 8 to win 100 times your buy-in.
The 8 of 8 open should be like a 200. I'm just saying. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would.
This is a clusterfunk. All right.
Do the cluster fun.
All right. So let's go with our mores first. Blaney, Moore. Truex is 14.5 points.
I got good news for you guys too. I just logged into my DraftKings account for the first time since football ended, and I have $2.11 in there.
Ooh.
And there's a $2 race, and it's fate because after Bucky's done here, we're gonna share my screen because it is called the NASCAR 3K Donut. That is the contest name.
And that's on what platform is that going to be on?
That's on DraftKings.
Nice. Okay.
So I got Elliott less, Harvick more, Bush less, Hamlin less, of course, Blaney more, Kez less, because I don't think Kez really cares a snake this. There's no points involved, so he'll probably just be sipping
He's
on
got
a
all the money he
Macchiato.
needs, anyways.
Yeah, he's
Right.
fine. Truex, I got more here. You know, he had a hot car last week. He was extremely quick, very quick race here. He was in the sweet spot where this will be kind of closing out. I know it's a completely different track style, completely different style of racing, but you know, he had juice going through for his first, half of that race there, more like 2/3.
Yeah.
Logano less.
He's a bum.
Why did I
Short track
put it-
racing.
Short track racing. You know what's going to happen here? If you're going to put less on Denny, it's because he's going to wreck Logano, and they're both going to be wrecked out of this.
I hope Chase Elliott's on the inside, Logano's in the middle, Denny Hamlin's on the outside going into turn 3 on like the 5th lap, and they just both turn into each other and just boom. There, and then all our Monkey Knife 5 picks going to be just right.
Right, Bucky, 5 to win 500, huh?
doing it.
Wow.
Look at this. Murderer's Row. I'm going to be eating cheeseburgers for months after
That's
that.
a lot of Freshlies there, Bucky.
Oh, yes. I love the Freshlies. No free ads, but fresh. We need to get Freshly on the mic here.
Yeah,
Right.
We're going to speak it into existence.
We
Yep.
need them. So you guys are just tuning in for the first time. Make sure you're subscribing and all that good stuff. But if you've never played Monkey Knife Fight and you want to play for the first time, use code FOCUSED when you sign up, and you'll get yourself $50 for free, assuming you deposit 50. If you deposit 20, you'll get 20, up to $50. But continue to dominate Monkey Knife Fight with us on a weekly basis.
So by my calculations, that's 75 plus another 75.
You almost rich.
I'm gonna win like $680 tomorrow.
That I think that your dues are $700, so it'll be just right.
Yeah, that's what I owe to the club.
Yeah. Perfect.
Love
These look good. These look good picks. I'm excited. Nothing. Wednesday races hits you a bit different. You wake up, go to work. You're like, you know what? I'm ready for racing. I'm gonna cut out at 4:30 today. Like that's gonna be
That's right.
tomorrow. I can't wait.
Love it.
I'm off work at noon.
Oh, then me too. You can't be working less than me tomorrow, so I'm taking off at noon.
I got a football match I got to watch at 1
I was
p.m.
going to say, the only reason Bucky is taking half days in 2020 is because there's a Tottenham match on.
Yep, it's very true.
I know you too well.
Coys, get it done.
So we're going to share my screen here real quick for DraftKings. It's just a small contest to give you guys some drivers that we like. William wants to know, for DraftKings, would you all focus more on PD or laps led?
What is PD an abbreviation for?
Yeah, I don't know that term actually. PD. So get back to us on that.
Yeah, let us know, William.
So for DraftKings, you basically get to pick, let's see, 6 drivers here. You've got a $50K salary, so it averages out to $8,300. So Freeman, I'm going to give you a first pick of the litter here. Who's the guy you want to build your roster around in DraftKings?
So remember, this is the All-Star race. If you put in a driver that does not get into the All-Star race,
it's automatic 0.
Yeah. Good try. Welcome to the party. You're leaving early, this kind of thing. So we need to pick some of these mid-pack drivers first to give us that wiggle room at the top end of our salary. That's the best thing that I always do within these DFS lineups. Find some of these inexpensive options. So I think Kurt Busch as a first pick is a great pick because, again, he's my guy to win this race. And at a $7,600 salary, that is a hell of an investment for a W on this kind of point makeup. So I like Kurt Busch as being our first pick here. So looking down the line a bit more, let's see. I'm looking at my all-star lineup. So let's do this. We have to pick someone who is in the open that is going to advance. Who is that person, and which one are we going to pick?
I love that they're using the questionable tags on DraftKings now, because these are the guys that we don't know if they're getting in.
Yeah.
So this makes DraftKings really ballsy and interesting. So things are going to change if you want to wait until closer to the actual race at 9 o'clock Eastern time. maybe you can still get it in, but a lot of these have max entrance on them.
Does that say 5:30 Pacific time up on your screen for his contest go live, Levy?
It does.
5. So that will lock at 8:30 Eastern time tomorrow. And if my notes are correct, that's when the All-Star race goes live to broadcast. So you can hypothetically edit this lineup as the open race is going on. But once that open is finalized, I doubt that this will still be live. So I say Boyer's my guy for this one. If we're going to pick someone who's already in the open to make it to the All-Star. And William, place differential. Okay, thanks for clarifying. So this race does not have as large of a field as other races. So the point differential value is not as valuable, if you will. So what I would say is, if you're looking at the top 5 of starters, you don't pick Justin Haley. He's someone who looks like he has a good starting position, who is in a race with a bunch of all-stars. He's not going to provide a lot of value starting up front. Someone who will, I think, add a lot of value starting out back from a point differential perspective, while it may not be as good as starting last and finishing first, that Denny Hamlin, I think Chase Elliott will both present decent value from a point differential perspective, but focus on who's going to win that race. The point differential is not going to win or lose that contest for you, I don't believe, in this race.
Yeah, finishing position will get you 46 points, second 42, third 41, fourth 40, and so on down the list there.
Yeah.
Fastest laps, I do like that about DraftKings. They get you a half a point for fastest lap, and then a quarter of a point instead of a tenth of a point in comparison to Monkey Knife Fight.
Yep. And there's a way to play the strategy around those fast laps too. We look at the Harvicks of the world, and we always hear about his car being trimmed out. That means he's going to be fast out of the start. Harvick's someone who is going to get you points on every front. Point differential, laps led, strong finishing position, a lot of fast laps. So that just gives other drivers the option to get more points, because that first place driver isn't always the fastest. You have to think about how you run into lap traffic, and usually that second, third, and fourth place driver have an easier route through the field after the leader has lapped those lap cars. So keep that in mind too when you're considering some of these other small point differentials.
Also keep in mind there are people that credit how fast Harvick is running to Busch Light and Busch Light solely. So also
but
keep
not the
that.
Apple.
Ooh, I forgot. I tried to black
Apple's
that out of
gonna
my
slow it
brain.
down.
Yeah, we got apples now.
Yeah, the apples, they mix up the formula, man. I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea.
He's actually racing with an apple cart attached.
He can throw apples like a banana peel in Mario Kart.
Yeah,
Right.
he's been dumping apples all over the track.
All right, so back to the lineup here. Here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take Boyer out for a second, because I want to make this a collaborative lineup, and I want to see if we can each put our winning driver into this lineup. So I said Denny, so I'm going to be the expensive guy here. I'm going to be the ass, and I'm going to kill our average. Bucky said Blaney. So Bucky's got Blaney to win. I've got Hamlin, and Freeman's got the dark horse in Kurt Busch. So we've got 3 more drivers here and an average salary of $8K. Now let's build the rest of our lineup.
Let's pick someone well under that budget first, so we have a little bit of wiggle room.
Matty Kansas.
I think everyone's going to be picking Bubba Wallace. We need to be contradictory to that and get
Cole
points
Custer.
elsewhere.
Cole Custer is the guy. He's riding high. He's got the hot hand.
I like that.
He's going to be so nervous tomorrow. He might even pee in his fire suit.
Little did you know that's his good luck trick.
I like it. He has nothing to lose, right? He's coming off a win. He's big dicking it around Bristol, his first win in his career. Cole Custer sounds like a good DFS pick. And again, he's someone who's starting in 8th. He has he has some positions to climb. And again, like William talked about, while place differential adds value here, it's not going to be what wins the race, what wins the competition for you, but may give you a little bit of padding. So I think Cole Custer is a good bet here. Now is when it's going to start to get a little bit more challenging.
I do have one concern about Cole Custer. Is there a small chance that for the last 2 days he's been consuming just an absolute gluttonous amount of Busch Light apple?
Oof. I hope not, because he might have diabetes, but I think it'd be okay.
Like, is he actually diabetic?
No, I would imagine that Busch Light Apple has a bunch of sugar in it that Busch Light non-Apple didn't have. So he might have
I didn't
developed.
know if it was a joke or if you were saying he was diabetic.
No, he might have
I couldn't
developed
handle it.
diabetes very quickly
Busch
if he's
Light
drinking a
Apple.
lot
It
of
was
beer.
definitely a joke.
I was just wondering. I didn't want to insult Cole.
How dare you?
Well, I'm just saying, in all seriousness here, if you guys think we're just jumping on the Cole Custer bandwagon because he just won, tune into last episode before Kentucky. We've been all over SHR racing, and in general, they've been doing well, and he's shown some promise. So if we're going to continue the hot hand, it's guys like Cole Custer and even Eric Almirola, assuming he wins one of these stages tomorrow.
Yep. And we talked about it too. We keep going back on what we talked about before, but it's coming to fruition, so we got to brag about it. Kevin Harvick has had the most positive impact on the success of SHR over the past few weeks than any other single factor. So his continued knowledge sharing is only going to continue to raise the tides for all those boats that sit in the SHR harbor, if you will. So I think Cole Custer, Eric Almirola, and who am I missing here? Boyer all have stronger equipment because of Harvick, and the Harvick effect, if you will, has raised them all and improves all of their value. So I'm not going to hesitate with Custer here. I think even with some with Busch Light Apples in his belly, he's still going to have the fuel needed to make some good laps.
I was just joking. I don't think he's that irresponsible.
Hey, his big thing is where the beers, dude. Like, I wouldn't be surprised whenever he wins a race, he's tweeting where the beers. He's yelling it. He's a beer guy, and I think you're pretty spot on for his desires to be drinking a bunch of beers.
Trust me, as a beer man, I can always recognize a beer man.
Love it. So we got some money to spend here, gents, with the last two spots because we're
Yes.
saving big money on Custer. So we've got $92.50 each. Who do we like?
I like Truex.
It blows my mind that Eric Jones is cheaper than two players that are not even in the race.
That's crazy. That makes
Not
sense.
to skew any picks here.
Well, he's starting 16th.
Longer race, more stages. I think starting position isn't going to be as big of a deal because of how many opportunities they will have to execute strategy. And
yeah,
again,
they have at least three built-in cautions.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And even if you have a mistake, you're not going to drop to 25th. You're going to drop the worst to 20th. So while mistakes are not as amplified, the race is shorter, so it's give and take, but still some things to think about here. So we're going to have to make a couple picks that contradict some of our monkey knife fight insight. So I'm looking here. I don't want to go with Kyle Busch. I'm adamant about that.
Yeah.
Do you guys disagree
fine.
with that?
No,
Agreed.
I'm anti-Bush,
Yep.
except for Kyle. Or sorry, Kurt.
Except for Kurt. Yeah, all these guys. We need someone who's going to have a consistent finish.
Why not go
potential to
Harvick
win.
Jones?
I was thinking Keselowski Jones or Harvick Jones or something of that like, because we need someone who is a veteran who can wheel a car even if it's crashed to a decent finish in a race that doesn't matter from a points perspective.
Sounds like Jimmy Johnson.
I think and honestly, I think Jimmy Johnson has a non-traditional hot streak going here. He got crashed out. He had a fast car.
I guess my concern with
All
putting
right,
Jimmy
Tracy
Johnson.
Chapman.
I guess my concern with putting Jimmy Johnson in here is then we can't put a guy like Harvick in because Jimmy's slightly too expensive unless my math is off. I love getting Harvick in here if it means we have to put a guy like Eric Jones in because, look, I personally believe that the two best drivers in the world right now are Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, and there's no changing my mind on that.
The Eric Jones hat is fresh and on. I
So
guess we're going with EJ.
So we've got 8,100 left here. That's plenty. Or we could go Boyer. Yeah, but like Jones is the safe bet. We are not picking any of these guys that need to earn their way into the race. I think if you're building a DraftKings lineup here on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning before the All-Star Open, it makes sense to go this route, right?
I don't know. Boyer makes some sense here.
Does he? But why?
All right, Jones is completely up and down.
Sure.
And he's wrecking. He wrecks like every other race.
Even when he does win races, he has a wreck car. So
yeah. I'm going to go Clint Boyer, actually.
I'm trying to think of when it comes to historical figures, like when it comes to winning an Open, it usually takes a lot out of that car. It's very unlikely that some of those drivers who fight hard for a win earlier in the night to win at the All-Star race. So we need to find someone who, even if they may not have a chance to win, like a Boyer, if we're gonna pick someone like that, that they're gonna at least be able to stay around. And the kind of caveat needs to be, if Boyer doesn't win that first stage, we come out and take him out of that lineup because he's not showing the speed we want. So again, while talking through some scenarios, spitballing here, I know we're kind of undecided on our direction, but I'm leaning towards Eric Jones. A lot more can go wrong in the Open than can go in the All-Star race before it starts.
Yeah, I'm going to vote. I'm going to side with Freeman here, Bucky. I'm going to go with Jones strictly to remain risk adverse. I really want to protect the last $2 of my last $2.11 in my DraftKings account. So I'm going
to a couple stamps, Levy.
Yes, please do. I'm just trying to stay afloat here in the DraftKings world until football season. So
I think you've got a good one.
Yeah, let me if I can even figure out, this site is so unuser friendly now. I don't even know how to get to my tournaments here. So
right. I just use the app because the website's such a mess.
All right, so here's my lineup as I work through this unuser friendly site here. It's better on mobile, but anyway, drivers we're going to go with Harvick, we're going to go with Hamlin, we're going to go with Blaney, we're going to go with Kurt Busch, Eric Jones, and Cole Custer to round out our DraftKings lineup. We got another question in there from Bloom. He said he saw Custer has Haas on his car. Is that the same team from F1?
Love the question. So yes and no. So in NASCAR, Haas is incorporated with Tony Stewart. So Gene Haas and Tony Stewart made Stewart Haas Racing. Formula One, Haas is a sponsorship for the Formula One team and a supporter of the team. It's not its standalone team that is an alliance with NASCAR, if that makes sense. So it's like an IndyCar. You see Simon Pagenaud driving the yellow day green Menards IndyCar, much like but Ryan Blaney driving the Menards car on a Sunday for NASCAR. They are a part of the same team in Penske Motorsports, where they stable NASCAR, Formula One, rally cars. Custer is stationed out of Stewart Haas Racing, that is independent of the team that is managing or monitoring, if you will, that Haas sponsorship for Formula One. So a couple different answers. Hope that makes sense. I love to see that you catch on to that, because there's a lot that we talked about it. Even in NASCAR, there is a lot of family bloodlines and lineage. Same thing within all of racing. Sponsors are connected across different motorsports. Teams are as well. And it's cool to see how many fingers and toes all these individuals have in different motorsports. And I'll leave it with this one. I know we're going over here, but Tony Stewart, actually, while we're on the topic of him, he and Ray Evernham, who was Jeff Gordon's crew chief and car owner for a long time in the late 90s, early 2000s, they just launched a whole new racing series. So that's going to be coming out next summer. It's much like the IROC series. So we talked about it before. IROC is a series where they brought drivers from all different competitions and put them in the same car on NASCAR tracks and said, let's see who's the best. Tony Stewart was one of them. It was a part of that, and they want to recreate that kind of feeling. So it's going to be a standardized car across 6 different short tracks next summer that CBS is they're gonna put on. So it's gonna be cool to see a lot more racing, a lot of these very publicized names creating more leagues and being more well known and visible.
My cousin growing up, this would have been like 92, had a sweet 87 IROC Z. Little Chevy.
Hell
Dude,
yeah.
those are sharp. If those IROC cars, if you guys haven't heard of IROC before, I mean, you go look at a YouTube video of them racing at Talladega. You have Rusty Wallace and Al Unser Jr. and Dale Earnhardt Sr. and you have just the creme de la creme of all these different racing series on a racetrack driving the exact same car. It's something cool to see. I'm excited to see that new series launch next year.
Are they bringing back like the 80s Chevy IROC Zs?
I doubt that. It won't be the IROC series. It's called SXR, some kind of not IROC related terminology, but it's IROC without the IROC car. So I don't even know what the cars are going to look like. I don't know if it's going to be a stock car. I imagine it will be. But I'm excited to see that stuff come about. Tony Stewart knows how to put on a good show. He recently has been purchasing racetracks left and right in the dirt scene, and it's just pumping them up and turning them into huge events like they used to be in the past. So if anything, Tony Stewart's name in association with racing on any level is going to be a big plus.
Oh yeah. If Tony Stewart is involved, I will be a fan because I just want to see him out there racing, trading paint, and fighting people.
Yeah, throwing some punches.
Yeah.
How did we not talk about the fight last week? So Noah Gragson and Harrison Burton got into a fight last week. So I know, again, we're running over here, but there's so much stuff going on in NASCAR. It's hard to keep it short, but there's the IROC. That bad boy is like, Knight Rider. That thing talks to you,
man.
and it is beautiful.
Thing is awesome. Yeah, we should have talked about the fight.
Can we pitch in here for an IROC as a threesome?
Right?
Yes, if we can get back of the pack put all over it and fantasy focused.
Oh man. Let's get into this series.
There's a sponsor on my windshield. I can't see, but Fig Newtons sure are delicious.
For the record, I will veto the Fig Newtons regardless of how much money they throw at us.
You don't like Fig Newtons?
Of course not.
Oh man. Yeah, take it up with Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, more of an Oreo guy, if you couldn't tell.
All right, gents, it's been fun. Good luck tomorrow night, Wednesday night. If you're watching this Wednesday morning, good luck in the DFS and the NASCAR All-Star race, or if you're gambling, whatever you're doing, however you're making money on NASCAR, enjoy the short track racing there at Bristol. Looking forward to it. This is another episode of Back of the Pack live here on Fantasy Focused. If it's your first time coming across our YouTube channel, make sure you are subscribing and liking this video and all that good stuff. And check out our podcast. You can find us iTunes, Spotify, wherever else you listen to podcasts, wherever you want to hear us. Appreciate
Podcast Addict.
Yes, everywhere.
Podbean.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone's input today. Good to hear from you, Brian and William and all the guys and gals who contributed. Look forward to seeing you sub and around for the next few weeks and engaging with us.
Yeah, Brian, hit us on our DMs if you want to get in on this car. You know, we need to get some personal info from you, social security number, not a big deal, but we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Again,
I'll be looking out for that, Brian.
Yep, DM us.
See you guys.
See you guys.